All right, good morning out there, Deep Run. I know that quite a few people will be missing class today, Friday, for robotics competition and I think something else as well. So I'm kind of keeping that in mind, but I do want to cover some new material and give you some additional ideas of things you might consider doing with your website. I'm also going to talk about some things you don't want to do with your website. But I'll do that first, and then I'll talk about what's called content localization. And content localization is essentially saying we're going to translate our website into another language. And so you can have your website where the user can select the language that they want to put it in. Well, that sounds wonderful, and you're probably all used to using something like Google Translate if you need to translate data or content. DNN is not quite that sophisticated. It basically will create a set of pages for each language, but it is up to us to identify translators and have the translators actually translate the content. So there's not a whole lot of shortcuts here, but I'm going to show you the capability that you do have. And there's some things that only the host user can do, so I'll explain what those are. And then I'll show you what you can do with translation, and we'll kind of look at that. So the first thing I want to show you is I had a group that locked themselves out of their web portal. And so I got them back in. But I'm going to kind of see if I can show you. I'm going to try to deliberately lock myself out of a web portal and see if I can get back in and show you how to do that. And these things never work in live demos. So let's see if I fail spectacularly trying to demonstrate this for you. So I'm going to open up a web portal that nobody's using. And I'm going to log in, and I'm going to log in with the admin account for this web portal. And so now I have the web portal up here on the screen. And I probably told you at some point, don't mess with this login stuff up here at the top. Well, one of the groups managed to lock themselves out, and I think what they did was they went into page, or actually not, I'm sorry, not page management, they went into site settings. They created a new page. The first thing they did, let me go in and do it the way they did. So they created a new page called the login page. So they added a page called login, which there's no problem with that. And they added it to the root of their website. Nope, doesn't work the way I typed it. Not sure why I didn't like that. Let's do that. And I didn't even get started in demo before things started going wrong. All right, I created a page called login with an underscore character. I guess the dash must be not a legal character for that. Should be. But anyway, I created this page called login, and so it's viewable by, let's make it viewable by anybody, because we want anybody to be able to log in. So I'll change those settings and I'll make it viewable. And then when people log into my website, I don't want them to go to the home page and log in. I want them to go to the login page. So I'm going to go over here to the site settings, and I'm going to change somewhere on here. Find the right setting. It's not under marketing. Here we go, under advanced settings. One of the items in here is the login page. And it says none specified. But what they did, they could have done a few different things. I'm not exactly sure which of these they did. But let's say they didn't want people to go to the home page and log in. They wanted them to go to the login page. So they don't have any login page specified here. And the home page is set to home. You can change this to none specified. And let's see if that breaks our website. So if I log out, and let me refresh just to make sure, I still have the login option up here. So that didn't break it. But now what if I go in here to page management and make the home page not visible. I'm not going to select that it's blocked. I'm just going to select that it's not visible for all users. And now if I log out, maybe I need to get rid of some stuff here. And I can't even break this thing. And it might be because I've done some things with language localization. If I click on well, I can still get to it. Anyway, somehow or another they did something to get rid of these buttons up here at the top. And maybe it was, let's see. Edit the page. Yeah, I can't really edit those up here. They'll have to tell me what they did to break it. I just know once it's broke, I have to fix it. What if I take it out of the menu? I don't think that's going to affect the let's see if I make the home page the login page, what that does. Now I still have these buttons up here. And it may be because of something else I've done in the meantime. You'll notice I have some things on my web page that you don't have. Like I have these flags over here on the left for language translations. And that may be impacting what I'm doing because normally we wouldn't have those. Let me try one more thing, and then I'll just move on if I can't. Fix that, or if I can't break that. Somebody will break it before the course is over. Yeah, I still got these buttons up here. Normally I wouldn't. I would be able to get rid of those buttons, but I can't seem to get rid of them. But anyway, if you did something to your website and you lost these buttons up here and you could not log in, then you would have a problem. But there's actually a way. I can go up here to the URL and I can type in default.aspx. There's a hidden page called default, and I can use a question mark to say, I'm going to tell you what I want you to display on the default page, and I'm going to want you to display a control, which is CTL equal login. And if I type that and hit enter, it brings up a login prompt. So when the group got locked out, what I have to do is go in and use this kind of backdoor method to display a login prompt and log in, and then I can go in and fix their website. And I don't remember what exactly I had to do to fix it, but essentially they had no login module available. Maybe, let me go back to the home page. The home page doesn't show up in the menu because I deselected it. Let me go back to page management and view the home page and edit the page. And maybe I can delete some modules here. Maybe that's what they did. And so now I just have a blank page there with nothing on it. And they might have done actually one more thing. Let me go into the appearance. And maybe they changed the page theme to something like that. Yeah, that still has the login stuff up here at the top. Anyway, they did something to get rid of it, and if you happen to do that, you figure out how to break your web page like they broke their website. You can get back into it using that default.aspx with a question mark and then CTL equal login. And that will bring you to a blank page with the login module displayed so that you can get back into your site. So, if you happen to break it, you can do that. What I really want to talk to you today about is something called content localization. And content localization is the way to make your website have essentially a copy of your website for every language that you want to display your website in. So if you want to display your website in Russian or Turkish or something like that, you can do that. And in order to do that, what you have to do is you have to use a combination of host privileges and administrator privileges. Right now, if I go into the administrator menu and I go to the advanced features, there will be an item in my menu called languages. And if I look in this languages item, I will see that there are currently in this portal, there are currently 3 languages available to me. There are English, Spanish, and French languages available to me. But maybe I want to use Turkish language. We'll say that. And so if I want to add another language, there's no way, no button here that allows me to do that. First of all, I might say, hey, enable this, what's this enable localized content button do? So I click on that and it asks me, what is the default language for your site? And for most all of us, the default language is going to be English. We want an English copy of our site and maybe some other languages. If you screw this up, you're dead. You can't change this setting once it's set. So you want to make sure that you have the default language you want before you enable this. So I do want English, United States English, and I want to make pretty much every page translatable, and I'm going to enable that. And so now it comes back and says, hey, you have websites that are translatable. I have French enabled, which is why I get this extra stuff over here on the right-hand side that we'll talk about in a minute. But I don't have Spanish enabled. If I wanted to enable it, I could simply click here and say Enable Spanish. When I do that, you'll notice I get this little symbol here, and it's hard to tell what that symbol is. It's either a paintbrush or a wrench or something, I don't know. But if you hover over it, it says Create Pages in this language. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. And what it will do is I have 9 English pages, and I have 9 French pages. I'm going to click on this. It will create 9 new web pages in my website to hold the Spanish language pages. So now I have 9 new Spanish pages. Although those Spanish pages and those French pages haven't actually been translated, it shows that they're 0% done. That's really just for the website administrator. It has actually nothing to do with whether or not the content's actually been translated. It's just that we're going to assign people a job and say, you go translate this page. When they come back and said, my page is translated, then we will update that page and say it's translated, and then this number will change. So that's what that does. But I still don't have any way to add another language here. Only the host user can do that. So I'm going to log out for a minute, and I'm going to log in as the host user. So you come to me and you say, Dr. Carpenter, I want to translate our website into Turkish. And I'll go in here. Interestingly enough, this is a quirky thing. I do not have to go under the host menu to do this. I have to go as the host user. I have to go under the admin user to do this. And then I'm going to go into the languages item. And then notice down at the bottom, I now have a bunch of buttons that weren't there before. There are many, many, many language options available in DNN. So I'm going to click, I'm just going to use one that's already installed. So I click on Add a Language, and there's a drop down here. And I'll go down here and find something. Let me see if I can find Turkish. I think that's Turkish. Looks like Turkish, the Turkish flag. So I'm going to add that. So now you see that this language has been added to the list. Only the host user can do that. It's currently enabled, but the pages haven't been created. So I'm going to disable it. And then I'm going to log out and log back in as the admin user. And now when I log in as the admin user and go to languages, now I have that option to translate into Turkish. So I'm going to enable that, and I'm going to say, yes, create me 9 pages for my Turkish language website. And so now I have 9 more pages within my web portal that are all set to be made in Turkish. Now, and now you see up here on the top left, I have 4 flags, so I can pick on any of these flags to get my pages in a different language. One thing you might notice is that the administrative pages are all still in English. We can't really change these administrative pages and translate them to other languages. At least I haven't found a way to do it. But the content pages we can change to whatever language we want to do. So what I'm going to do is, let's say, I'm going to go back in here to page management. Actually, I'm going to go to the English page and go to page management. And I'm going to go back to my home page. And I actually created a subpage to this already called About Us. And let's look at the About Us page and see what it looks like. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to view the page. So I put some text on there. And all I did was I edited the page. It has a simple HTML module on it. And I said edit the content. And then I put some content in here. And so this is just for demo purposes to have something there. So I have my About Us page. It works. If I make my home page, I'm going to go back and do this. Make my home page show up on the menu. I'm going to click on Include in Menu. And I'm going to update that. And if I look over here, I now have a home page, and it says, under the home page, I have a subpage called About Us. And there it is in English. So now let's say that I go to French. I don't see a home page over here in French on my top line menu. That's because I haven't enabled it yet, and I'll show you how to do that. On Spanish, I don't have that either, and on Turkish, I don't have that. So I'm going to go back to my English page, and I'm going to go to Page Management. I'm going to go to the Home page and look at Page Settings. And you notice I have this Localization tab. I'm going to click on that. And I have options to create a home page in these other languages. So the home page template exists, but the page itself isn't really there. And so what I'm going to do, it always tells me these menu items here, so keep that in mind. The only one that doesn't have one is English, and it actually did have one, but I took it out of there. So you can edit this text. For example, let's say I'll leave the French one there. I'll edit this one. So it won't show up in that. And actually I can change this. I'll change it from home to casa for Spanish. And change that as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here on the bottom, and I can copy these modules that were on my English homepage, and I can copy them onto these other pages. Or I can go up here at the top might take it a second. Yeah, it's not going to let me. Usually you can go up here and click on this little thing and it'll select them all for you. Not sure why it didn't do that. But I'm going to go over here. Actually, I'm going to not select these. But I'm going to say I want to copy all of the modules. So it's going to tell me every module that appears on that page. And I'm going to update those. And I may have, there was another button down there to update page. I didn't click on that, so let me make sure that it, yeah, it's got my included menu thing there. So I'm just going to go ahead and click update page. So now if I click on a different language, yeah, I still don't have it here. That's one of the problems, is some of the settings don't translate when you translate these. So let me go in here in Spanish and go to page management. And I have my Casa page. It's there. But when I set I clicked on the included menu checkbox in the English version, that didn't make it show up in the Spanish version. So I got to do that there. And then it did, however, create the About Us page under the Casa page. Let's try another language. Let's try Turkish. I have a Turkish home page. I have a Turkish About Us page. And if I right-click this and go to Page Settings and click on Include in Menu, it will now show up on the Turkish language version of my website, and both pages will show up. But notice that the content is in English. I'm going to come back to that in a minute, but just to be consistent, I'm going to go ahead and do French and go into page management and set this one to show up in the menu. So it transferred some settings, but it didn't transfer all of the settings. Now, I don't know anything about French, but I'm pretty sure About Us is not French, nor is Home, nor is this content down here. The first thing I'm going to do is mess with the content. So I'm going to go up here to say Edit Page, and when I edit page, I get the little pencil that allows me to edit content, and here's my editor. Right now, the editor is, everything's in English. All the instructions are English. We can change that as well. But when I want to edit this, I'm essentially relegated to manually translating these pages. And for me, since I don't know any French, I might be able to ask you where's the bathroom in French. That's about it. But Google Translate, if I select French as the target language, tells me that this is the French translation. I don't know any French, so I have to take their word for it. So I go over here and paste, oops, nope, hit the wrong thing. Notice when I say I want to paste this, that it gives me a warning, and it gives me the warning in French. So it knows that I'm maybe a native French speaker, and it gives me the warning in French. And I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to change it to a capital and say OK. The other bad thing is the formatting gets lost when I do that. So I have to go back here and pick all of the formatting options that were on my other text. And I could do the same thing. I'm just going to do the titles. Actually, there. Oh, that's easy. And then I have to change all the formatting again. But now I have French content on my page. So if I'm the translator, if I'm the French translator and I do that, I probably want to go up here at this point and go to page localization. Once I've translated all of the content, and I'm going to want to click on this little translated thing. Say it was translated even though I didn't translate the smaller text. That page now shows as being translated. Since that page shows as being translated, if I go back over, find it, not in here. If I go under the admin menu and go to localization or languages, now notice under French, it shows that 2 pages have been translated. 1 page was supposedly translated by default, which is the home page. Now 2 pages have been translated. So that's how that number gets updated, is when I go in and click on the checkbox and say, yep, this page has been translated. It's not a very sophisticated process. So we could do that with all of our pages. We could translate them into other languages. But what about up here where it has still home and about us? We can simply go into page management, and now we're on the French site, and I have no idea what home is in French. And there we have it. And so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to right click on this and go to page settings. And I'm going to actually go over to page details. And I don't want it to show that that's French. So I'm just going to overwrite that whole thing and put it in there. And I'm not going to mess with this URL down here. I'm going to leave the URL alone. And so now you can see that I have the French language stuff up here, and I can do the same thing for About Us. Actually, I'm already there. And if I remembered, I'd know what this is. So I'll copy this. And I can put it in both of these. And I don't know, but I'm going to guess that these are all capitalized, except maybe that one. French speakers can correct me if you feel the need to. I have no idea. And I'm going to update that, and now I will have both of those in French. And I could do the same thing with login. I'm already there. Go to page settings. Copy that. So now I have French labels up here. And I can change the language pretty much everywhere in the site as long as I find the right place to do it. But I can edit content, but that's a manual process. So you can't, there's no button that you can click on that says automatically translate this page from English to French. That functionality doesn't exist within DNN. You have to manually go in and do the content translation. You do have the option to say, you have the option to enable, let's see if I can find it. You can click this bottom checkbox down here to say allow users to choose their interface language. And let's see what we do with that. I might mess myself up. I might get myself in something I don't understand. So English is okay. I understand that. I haven't said anything in Turkish. It really doesn't look any different. Let me go under while I'm in Turkish. And you'll see everything's still in English. Probably what I need to do is go into a user account, and I might be able to set a language preference within the user account. I'm just guessing. I've never actually done that. And I don't see one in there. I'd have to I'd have to look around and find out. Where you set that particular thing. But I'm pretty sure there's a way that you can log in and get your whole interface, all the prompts in whatever language you select. Maybe I just have to log out and log in. Yeah, that didn't change anything. It defaults to English when I do that. Another thing I want to show you about translation is what it does to your URLs, your page, the path to your page. Notice up here at the top that I'm now in g10.anacata.cyber.longwood.edu, but since I'm in Spanish right now, I have es-mx/login, and in this case, login ESMX. If I go to French, I have, because I changed the page name in French, I have this page name, but I still have this FR-FR. Some people get really frustrated because they don't like having that extra language identifier in the URL. You cannot get rid of that. If you get rid of that language identifier, it breaks everything. So if you want to experiment with multiple languages, don't try taking this out of your URLs. You will break them. It's not as simple as that. So even English has one of these. It says, all right, this page is being rendered using the English set of pages. That's more or less what I wanted to show you about language translation. It's certainly possible, and you might have a reason in your website to do it. If you're targeting a particular population that uses a different language, but so here I just selected a page, the error page, and I said, and when I select a page and I want to localize it or create other language versions of the page, it will come up with that same page that we've seen before. In this case, the page just has a text box on it, a module that says page cannot be found. And so I could duplicate that to all of the other languages, and then I could manually translate them to whatever those languages need to be. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it there. So that's the way you do language localization and make your website available to your users in different languages. It's not an easy process, but I have students from time to time that want to do it, and they actually do a very good job with it usually. But be careful. It's really easy to screw this up, and it's sometimes hard to correct mistakes. So make sure you are pretty sure you know what you're doing before you start doing this. And we're at about 45 minutes into the lecture, so I'm going to go ahead and shut it off here. I know quite a few groups are still working to get their e-commerce stores up and running, so continue to work on that, and let me know if you're having problems so that we can resolve those problems early. You don't want to be sitting there with a broken website and you can't fix it and you need some help. Let me help you, because I've done that quite a bit. I can usually figure them out. I've had a few that I can't figure out over the years, but for the most part, I can figure them out. So that's all I got for you today. Use the rest of your time to either work on Project 3 or to work on your website. Don't worry about the quiz. What I think I'm actually going to do is see if I can get enough content out of this lecture on localization that I think that I can give you a quiz on that. If I can, that'll be the quiz for next week, but I'm still trying to come up with enough questions to ask you out of this one particular topic to make it suitable for a quiz. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'll know by Tuesday. The quiz will probably be Thursday, but I'll let you know by Tuesday for sure if we're going to have the quiz next week and what's going to be on it. And that's all for today.